Last Thursday on the Kaufman Corner podcast, we talked hitting. We're going to talk pitching. Who are the pitchers that can make the biggest difference for the Kansas City Royals? Variance, like what can they? Maybe they can be great. Maybe they can be bad. These are the pitchers that really hold in their grasp the future for the Kansas City Royals, at least the 2026 future for the Royals, and what they can do. Does Cole Ragans fit into that mix? Does a reliever crack the list of pitchers that can have the biggest impact on the Kansas City Royals? Injury. Is that it? Is it a newcomer? We're breaking that down right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Les Norman is a former Royals outfielder. He's the host of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as the author of Teaching the Tools of Hitting. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro.
And thank you very much. We do appreciate it, Curtis. Off and running here on the Kaufman Corner podcast, and an exercise we enjoyed so much last time that we thought we were going to get hitters and pitching in. And we didn't get both in. We only ended up getting the hitters in. So that means we've got a pitching edition this week where we will break down draft style the top 6 pitchers for the Royals that can have the biggest impact on 26. So this isn't just a vote of who is the best. As you'll recall, last week on the hitting side, the position player side, if you'd prefer, it did not just, go Bobby Wood Jr. up at the top. In fact, Bobby Wood Jr. did not crack the list. He was in the others receiving votes. We all know Bobby Wood's going to play well, but that's the thing. We know he's going to play well. We know you can count on him. The variance isn't there. So we're looking for the guys that you maybe have that biggest variance. Not to say that the Royals' best pitcher couldn't crack this list. That's a distinct possibility. Let's start with this. Going through the exercise, putting together your list. We're each ready with 6. Doesn't mean our 6 is going to get up there. But in determining who for you, in case they do go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can put your 6 up there. I guess for you, because you're going to go first, you only needed 4, really, to make your list. But what did you look at David shaking his head?
So privileged.
What did you learn from the exercise of putting this list together?
Yeah, it's I guess the first thing is that maybe I don't appreciate pitchers as much as I should have. Maybe because I was a hitter, man. This game is hard, and what they go through and how to stay healthy and how a team relies on pitchers, man. It's and I think the other thing too is that, man, the Royals were snake bitten with injuries. I mean, there's always so much, it seems, over the years about what this team could be. And then you finally get that formula together, and then your 1 goes down and your 2 goes down, and that puts a load on veterans. I mean, I was looking at Waka's stats. He had a sub-4 ERA and was 10-13. I mean, that's a sub-4 ERA. It was like, I think, 3.86 or something like that. So you go through the stats and you see how things can change so much and how expectations have to shift in flight. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah. How about you, David? Did you come away? Did you learn anything from the exercise?
What I came away with, and I don't know that I'd fully reflected this in my list, but what I came away with was all the injuries last year showed me that the variance on the pitching staff is less important with the way this team and coaching staff is built than the hitting, because Cole Ragans made what do you make? 14 starts. Chris Bubich made 20 starts. They had so many injuries, and they still would have made the playoffs if the offense could have hit.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that's what I came away with, because everybody on my list, I started injury. And I'm like, well, is that big of? I mean, it is a big deal. Don't get me wrong. They need Cole Ragans, they need Chris Bubitz, they need Seth Lugo, all of them, but they can survive without them because they've built so much depth and the ability to develop pitching. And so I think that was really interesting and a feather in their cap, actually.
Yeah, I think that is interesting the way you put it, because injury is a factor in this, right? Like who's going to be hurt, who's not going to be hurt. That is part of the equation. And I think it's what puts Cole Ragans in play much more for this list than it put Bobby Witt in play, because that is, and look, people may not like it, but that's the reality of the position. It does make a big difference because of the high rate of injury that pitchers, have to deal with. So yeah, to me, I don't know if it made it easier or harder. Right?
Harder for me. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Because in some ways you're like, well, if he goes down, we're screwed. Right? Like, well, if he goes down, that's a big problem. But to David's point, Les, they did have all the injuries and they were able to do it. That is the one thing that I did come away with is it solidified just how deep they are when it comes to the pitching. They being able to absorb all those injuries last year, they're in a position where they can do that again. At least as they sit here right now, they have not made a deal as we are recording, although I think we're probably getting close to where if the Cardinals are going to move Brendan Donovan, they're going to, do some business or get off the pot, right? Like at some point, I think we're going to, that could happen. But, the depth is something that is glaring. I mean, I think you'd agree with that, Les.
Yeah, I absolutely would. And I like that take on it as well. Hitting for me is so mental, and my list is going to reflect that. My take is going to be on the fact that when certain pitchers are actually out there, a little into kind of how I approach this exercise is when better pitchers are out there, it shouldn't be this way. If you're going to see the same pitches, regardless of whether your guy's on the disabled list or not, pitchers are going to attack you as a hitter a certain way. And just because one of your studs is in the game doesn't mean, okay, today I'm just going to try harder. So I'm going to get 3 hits today instead of 1. So, it's just who's out on the mound. It doesn't work that way, but there is a mental aspect to, look, this guy's going to keep us in the game. And you tend to not hit from a defensive standpoint or a failure standpoint. You tend to have that positivity. Your mind is clear. When your mind is clear, you really are a better hitter. So it's whatever you have to do to trick yourself mentally to be a better hitter, the offense has to. So I approached it that way, but I really like David's take on that the pitching staff did really well. And it just does point to the fact that the Royals offense had better pick it up. They don't realize how good this pitching staff really is.
Yeah, I would agree. Do your part, offense, and you can be a playoff team. I think that's a very good point here, Tab. All right, let's get things started, Les. Number 1 pick. You've got it.
Yeah. Well,
what pitcher has the biggest impact, has the biggest variance to where they could help and or hurt the fortunes of the Kansas City Royals in 26?
I don't know if this is going to blow the whole thing up or the wind's going to, or the air's going to seep out of the balloon slowly with a big whine. But my first pick is Cole Ragans.
Yep.
Right out of the chute. I'm going with the big starter. And again, it's because, in 24, at 223 innings, he had a 3.14 ERA, was an all-star. I'm sorry, 223 Ks, 186 innings. And then obviously that dropped off to 60, just over 61, almost 62 innings. And we know how good he can be, and we've seen the flashes of brilliance. Now, it wasn't just the injury. The injury is a big deal for me and why I put him on the list. But it's also the fact that I would like to see his pitch count go down a little bit so he doesn't get hurt. Maybe he could be a little bit more efficient. He's got great stuff. He's got swing and miss stuff. I watch his curveball, and it reminds me of facing Rick Ankiel and facing Rick Ankiel's curveball. It's the best curveball I'd ever seen. I mean, it was unbelievable. He just couldn't control his fastball. So Cole Ragans has great stuff. I feel like if he can stay healthy and they could manage his pitch count well, then to David's point earlier, they could weather some seasons where the offense isn't doing what they should. You need a guy like that to be healthy if the offense isn't producing as they should. And so hopefully that won't be the case, but that's why Cole Ragans for me is number 1.
Yeah, he's number 1 on my list as well, for all the reasons.
Sorry, man.
David, is he number 1 on yours?
He's number 1. So, Les wins again.
Yeah.
It would, yeah, I mean, everything that Les said is accurate. I think that the only reason I've moved my list around a few times. The only reason that he wouldn't be number one is, again, that they have so much depth. That's the only reason that you could, in my opinion, that you could say he's not the highest variance and most, like, the biggest gap.
Yeah. I like the way you're putting it. That that's the only way, because I think this is definitive. I'm glad we all landed here. I like when we have different ideas because I like to hear what the ideas are. But this is one where I'm like, I'm really going to be surprised if we don't all three put Cole Ragans to the top, because it's like if Bobby Witt were hurt all the time. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, the difference in the playoffs, the difference in the Royals making the playoffs with all the other things all the other problems they have with the pitching may just have been if Cole Ragans alone had stayed healthy, that gets him there. I mean, he's that good. And I think the other thing that makes it even more important, I'll add this layer onto it, is the Red Sox wanted him, right? We know you could have gotten Duran for him. I think we would all agree, or Ragans for Duran is a no-brainer, that you could have gotten that. Maybe you get Duran and something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have no problem with them not moving Cole Ragans, but I would also have no problem if they moved Cole Ragans for Duran and prospects, or Duran and a left-hander reliever. I'd have to go through the Red Sox system. And
you want Peyton Tolley. I mean, that's what you'd want if you made that deal.
Well, I mean, I think that I think the question on Cole Ragans on him helping this year is also a question of him helping the organization overall. Because I think there's a real question, should the Royals be cashing in on Cole Ragans, right? Should there be a for sale sign on Cole Ragans? And, that you maximize the interest in him and you take the highest bidder and you cash out, because he's a ticking time bomb. Like, does anybody think that Cole, listen, I think you said it yourself when you give him a contract that buys you no free agent time. You basically said, you're great. We love you. We want to make sure you get all of your money. We're not going to be sitting in an arbitration table with you coming off missing a year of surgery. If you get hurt, you have this monetary security. You only do that because both player and team are worried about what the health status is of the individual player. And so to me, you've already stated, okay, this is a ticking time bomb here. And so I do not have a problem keeping Cole Ragans and saying, we don't have an ace. There's not an ace we're going to call up you. We're not going to trade for an ace. We're sure as hell not going to sign an ace for the kind of money. This is a guy that if you were on the free agent market right now would get $200+ million. But I do look at the Milwaukee Brewers, who traded Corbin Burns a couple of years ago, traded Freddie Peralta this year. That is part of how they've stayed at the top, is they have cashed in on the pitching. They believe in their ability to turn around and develop more pitching, and so they don't have a problem cashing in on the pitching. So I think Cole Ragans is kind of a here and now. I mean, there's a case to be made that Cole Ragans is the answer. If we say here moving forward, like all the years to come, who has the biggest impact? It's Cole Ragans, because they may have a multiple-time Cy Young winner at the front of a world championship rotation who throws 2-1-0 shutouts to be the World Series MVP, or they may have a guy whose career ends and numerous prospects, a number of frontline players could have been on your team right now because you didn't move them. I think the Cole Ragans is the answer for 2026 and beyond. And I guess, Les, what I ask you, is there a wrong answer? Like, can you blame the Royals if they don't cash in? Because by all accounts, it looks like they are not in any mode to trade Cole Ragans, despite what some Red Sox writers wrote earlier in the offseason.
In my opinion, and feel free to jump in, I feel like if Chris Bubich is healthy, Cole Ragans probably isn't a part of this team. And we have a lot of different players that really make our future look good, Jarren Duran being one of them. But I feel like because two of your studs are hurt, then, yeah, okay, he's just going to be our future for sure. And again, I agree with everything you said. Down the road, you can't say that in 27 that he's going to be hurt again. We don't know that, but you don't know that he's not going to be hurt again, right, because he was hurt. And so you just don't know. And a curveball that big and a fastball is he's got a pretty high release point, which is good. Who's the guy, the young kid from Toronto, the Trey?
You Savage.
Yeah, you Savage. his release point's way up there, and he's a stud, and it was great. I just worry that in 2 years, is his arm going to give out because of that high release? Because the higher your arm goes up, the harder it is on your shoulders. Arms were meant to hang down at your side for a reason. So I just feel like down the road, that it is going to be Cole Ragans. I just get concerned that if he gets hurt again, we're all going to be thinking, dang, we should have unloaded him when we could have, because Jaron Duran would be in our outfield. We'd have younger prospects that are now ready in the big leagues, and had everything panned out the way we wanted to for the first time in years. So it's a concern, but you got to go with what you got.
Well, I'll go with the Rays/Brewers model. Turn them and burn them. I would have been shopping. I'm not saying I would deal him because you got to get a lot for him, and so I'd have to get the right package of players. But I would.
To be fair on that model, they don't trade him at this point. They trade him in a year and a half, and so I agree.
Would you agree though that you're listening at all times, and if you get the mega offer right now, like that's why I think with the multiple years of control, this may be the best, and your depth of pitching.
Yeah.
This may be the perfect time because you could get even more for him.
What I wonder, and we won't have to get too deep into this because we've talked about it a billion times, but I wonder, okay, did the Royals say you can have Cole Ragans? We want Tully or Early or whoever. And they said, no, it's Duran for Ragans. Well, if it's Duran for Ragans, I don't think that's a good deal. I don't think that's a fair deal for the Royals. And if all they would have gotten for Cole Ragans is Jaron Duran, I have no problem with them saying no. If we find out that the Red Sox said you can have Duran and you can have your choice of Tully and Early, and you can have Christian Campbell, and you can have this, and it's a 3-for-1, 4-for-1, or add another prospect. Okay, then we can talk about. But I think Duran for Ragans doesn't make sense, and so teams saw him pitch for 14 innings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was enough to say we're going to give you 2024 value. It's probably more than we're going to give you if he didn't come back value. But I wonder if there's value to be built still for him.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm fine with them not moving him, right? It's logical. It's reasonable. I want to point out that I think it could also be, and I think it also is logical and reasonable to actually move him, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I just think that's something that should have been on the table for the Royals, something that needed to be on the table. All right, David, you've got the second pick. Where are you going with that?
So this pick it was actually my number 2, obviously, is reflected in what I mentioned earlier. I have Lucas Erceg at number 2. And the reason for that is because I think the bullpen needs dominance. And the pitcher who is the most likely to be dominant is Lucas Erceg. And he also had some struggles last year. The ERA was really good, 2.64, great. His strikeout rate dropped from 28.5% to 19.3%. You need a guy who can get a punch out. He gets a lot of ground balls, which is really great. Also injuries. I mean, so there's a lot of reasons why this could go poorly. If he doesn't start getting strikeouts again, batted balls become hits. They just do. Strikeouts don't ever become hits. So I think that he's got to get back to that. There are some markers to me that say some of it was fluky. I think there was some early swinging against him. He had a very similar chase rate. He had a very similar swing rate against him. The contact wasn't especially good, but I think the variance between a hurt and non-striking out Lucas Erceg and a healthy and absolutely dominant beast at the back of the bullpen is huge for this team because they don't really have that right now.
That's interesting. Lucas Erceg. Les, did Lucas Erceg make your list? And if so, where did he land?
He did. I had him at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, for the exact same reasons. I just think with his stuff, there's just too much contact and too much hard contact. And when your strikeout rate goes down, that's not a good sign. And that gives confidence to hitters. I mean, the scouting report's a lot easier. You can start to hunt for certain pitches when that happens. When a guy that's got nasty stuff, his strikeout rate goes down, he's around the plate, you can completely arrange your scouting report and think, okay, that might be a strike, but that's not the pitch you're going to hunt for because you're not going to do the damage. He is going to give you something to hit. So this is what we're looking for, and we're looking for it in this location. And that's how things go south really fast. So that definitely needs to change.
Yeah. Lucas Erceg made my list, but he made it at number 6. I think it's just a question of how much can a reliever affect change. And I definitely wanted to, and listen, I can make a case that, look, I've got 5 starters and a reliever. So I did, play starters on there, but I think that I think with Erceg, I got no problem with him being up this high because I think he is the one guy that can be electric and be, when he's on, if the strikeouts are there, he is an absolute weapon out of the bullpen and can be deployed in the most strategic of positions. He's the one guy. Cole Ragans will pitch in some really important innings, but part of the reason they're important is because the offense isn't firing, right? It's like, it just happened to happen that they're not hitting on the day that he's pitching, but Lucas Erceg gets inserted into, okay, we know we've got a grease fire right now, go solve it. And so, yeah, I think it makes me, with you guys having him at 2 and 4, it makes me think that I was too low.
You were. It's fine. It's fine. No, it's all admitting you were wrong is the first step.
Yeah, it is. It is the first step. That is a great point. It is the first step. All right, Cole Ragans 1, Lucas Erceg number 2. We have got a third of our list down to go. Of course, we've still got 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then maybe some of the guys who just missed. We want to get to number 3, 4, and 5. We'll do that here in a minute, just after you hear from our friends at Frontier Justice.
This episode of Kaufman Corner is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee's Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Green Light Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Green Light difference. Visit us today.
Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements. All right, let's talk a little bit about the rest of the list. First, I want to remind you, our friends at Whataburger, the new Monterey Melt is there for you to try. Large, juicy beef patty, American and Monterey Jack cheese, grilled peppers and onions, and jalapeno ranch. Check it out. Maybe a lighter appetite, the big ranch wrap, chicken strips with American cheese, tomato, leaf lettuce, ranch dressing on a soft flour tortilla. They're just waiting for you. Open 24 hours a day, serving breakfast, 11 p to 11 a. Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner podcast. Let's pick up with number 3. I've got the honors at number 3, and I will tell you that, again, this is where I began to consider putting in the reliever, but I did not go there. In fact, I got to do number 2 because you have not gotten to my number 2. My number 2, but we'll put him at number 3 on this list with the process that we're using here, is Noah Cameron. I think the sophomore slump is a reality in sports. I think it's a distinct possibility that we could see, him backslide. And if he does, I think you're counting on him. One, the injuries around him. He was a guy. He was a pillar. He's what kept him going, right? Like they're not 82 and 80 without Noah Cameron being there. And so he was not supposed to be this good when he came up through. In fact, he wasn't this good. Right? He threw more strikes. Who does that? Right? You're supposed to be afraid of big, bad, big league hitters like Les Norman when you get up there. And instead, this guy went at the strike zone, and I think it's fantastic. I think he's an incredible story. And maybe it's just a little bit of the old show me attitude, being the fact that I was born in Missouri. I need him to show me again. Maybe that should be my motto, the show me again. Okay, I saw it once. But show me again. I love Noah Cameron. I love the story, but I'm not convinced he's as good as he was, and he was a really, really important part of that equation. So
I want to say goodbye to all our viewers in St. Joe, Missouri. Thank you for joining us. We
If
appreciate you being here.
if he's what he was again, I think they're in the playoffs because
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be as hurt. So if he could just replicate it, I think they're in the playoffs. So
I
listen,
agree.
in no way, shape, or form am I down on him.
Right.
Right. I just it just I think he's a really important part of the equation.
The sophomore slump is a big deal. It's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. So you're
Why?
right. You're
Why?
right.
Why does it happen so much less?
I think
What's the mindset?
I think it's a combination that when you come out, I think this is especially as a pitcher, but it could be both pitchers and hitters as well. Your first year out, especially when you don't start the season and you come up and then you do well, you're living that whole thing in the expectations aren't high for me, so I'm just going to relax and go out. And because if things don't work well, that's not on me. They brought me up and I'm a competitor and I want to do well, but I just got here. I'm figuring things out on the fly. What happens is then now this coming season, it wouldn't surprise me if Noah Cameron starts to put a lot of expectations on himself. And oftentimes young players with pressure that they haven't learned how to manage pressure yet. Now, if you're in your late 20s, early 30s and you're managing pressure, you've got enough time where you can handle that and you can trick your mind a little bit. You can you have different guys you can talk to, but you have some cred in the game, so it's a little bit easier mentally, emotionally. And so I think that sophomore slump with young guys sometimes can happen because you're just not prepared for the inevitable difficulty. We've talked here on Kaufman Corner how when you figure it out now this year, teams are going to have their scouting report on Noah Cameron. Hey, watch for this, watch for this, watch for this. He doesn't have a lot of experience on how to counteract that in the chess game of going back and forth. And so if they don't talk to him about that, which I'm sure they are, but he's still got to go out there and do it. So it's just that matter of being able to handle it emotionally and mentally. And if you don't have the time in, it's tough.
Where did he make your list? Did he make your list?
And Noah Cameron did not make my list.
Okay.
On any of the 6. He didn't even make almost made it. He was not anywhere near that. He was just one guy I felt like he was just going to stay steady. I don't have the expectation of a 2.99 earned run average. I do think he's got the ability to stay sub 4. Right. So, big league hitters are good. So he's going to have to adjust.
I think that's a great point. And I think we all crave, like myself included, we all crave the security of others agreeing with us. Right. But I will say this I'm like, oh, did I blow this? I had that thought. I don't think so. I still like the reason I put him on there because I think I think people need to be prepared for, there is the potential that call it a sophomore slump. And I like what you said about the sophomore slump, but I think we think of the sophomore slump and we think it must be one reason. I think the reason the sophomore slump is real is because there's lots of reasons. Mm-hmm. Whether it's one, you're pressing to be even better, where you're like, well, that was good, so now I got to do even more. Or whatever it might be. I think there's a lot of different reasons why you can get out of your rhythm. So that's why I think he is pivotal. And again, he just was so much better than we thought he was going to be. And I think he was such an important part of what they were that he could have that regression. That's why I put him there. But I do love the fact that he's not on your list, Les, because it kind of puts him in the Vinny Pasquantino category. The way I hear you talk about him that we discussed with the hitters, and that is, we ain't got to worry. Vinny's didn't make our list because we know what Vinny is. A really, really good hitter that if he gets off track, he'll get back on track quick. We don't have to worry about him. So there wasn't the variance with Vinny. And that's what I kind of hear with you.
Yes.
On Noah. David, did he make your list?
He did. He was 4 on my list.
Okay.
And for a lot of the reasons you said, you look at the numbers, 2.99 ERA, 4.18 FIP, 4.08 expected ERA. That alone, to me, is just such a big gap that the difference between a 3 ERA and a 4 ERA is you're still a solid pitcher with a 4 ERA.
Right.
But that's a run a game, basically. I mean, a little bit less than that because you don't pitch 9 innings every game. But that's with an offense that is not elite. I think they have a chance to be. I think they have a chance to hit. I really do. I don't think they're guaranteed. But so with an offense that might put up 3 or 4 a lot of nights, that run is big. And so I think the variance there is really big. The one thing about Cameron, the reason that I had him off my list, I had him on my list, I had him off, and I put him back on. I ended up at 4. I think about the fact that we talk about, he doesn't get enough swing and miss. His curve has a 30% whiff rate. His changeup has a 41% whiff rate. His slider has a 31% whiff rate. He gets swing and miss, just not on the fastball. And so I'll be curious to see how if his pitch mix changes at all, if he backs off the fastball even more than he did. The big 26% fastball was not high. His cutter was not great. 21% usage. Maybe he backs off that a little bit and goes more to the secondary. So I think that's where you could see him go toward that high end. But I do think there's a downside. And the other part of that, if you look at this rotation, if everybody's healthy, who's the one guy who could slide in and out? It's Cameron. Ragans isn't going to go anywhere. Bubich isn't going to go anywhere. Lugo's not going to go anywhere. Walker's not going to go anywhere. And so do you have a guy in your fifth spot who pitched like a 2? Or do you have a guy in your fifth spot who's more of a 4 or 5, which would be fine, but I think there's a big variance there too.
Yeah, I think so. All right, that brings us back around to Les. You've got the honors at number 4. We would be at your number 2 pitcher based upon what I've seen. Who do we got at number 4 with your pick, Les?
Well, my number 2 spot was Seth Lugo.
Okay.
And I have him in there. You know, he went from the comparison of 24 to 25. You know, he's an all-star. He had a 3 ERA in 24 that jumped to a 4.15. I know he had the back issues, and I understand that. He went from a 5.4 WAR to a 1.7. So obviously there was a decline. There's health. Look, when you extend a guy at his age and sign him to a 2-year deal, you got to expect he's not going to be pitching like he was at 30. However, he was pitching. I mean, the guy's got 10 different pitches. I mean, I don't even have that in wiffle ball. So, I mean, that's pretty darn good. And 10 effective pitches. And so when you see that much of a decline in all those pitches, there's just a struggle. He's going to have to come in. He had to come in the plate a lot more. I didn't check if his walks were up or not. You guys don't have to look, but David, you probably know that already. But
good amount.
Yeah, I just feel like if he's your middle of the rotation guy and he's that veteran guy, if he struggles and he's not injured, that can put a pretty big dent in your rotation. It puts the pressure a lot more on the rest of your staff, not to mention an offense that's not proven as far as consistency and scoring a lot of runs yet. And so I think, again, it's another pitcher where the offensive lack comes into play, puts a little more pressure on him. But he's a veteran. He's got a lot of pitches. I'm hoping that the decline from 24 to 25 does not continue into 26 because there's not a whole lot more room for that. I want to squeeze one more great year out of him. I know that might be a high expectation, but again, with his ability and as many pitches as he has and his brain, the way he thinks, I feel like if he doesn't have a good year, it could be really more difficult than just him not having a good year. It can put pressure elsewhere that shouldn't be.
Did you crack your list, David?
Yeah, he was 5 on my list. And again, all the reasons Les said, but also he threw 33 starts, 200 innings in 2024. There is, even if he's not as good as he was in 24, there is so much value in being out there for 6 innings every 5th day. And that's what he did pretty much every time in 2024. That helps the bullpen. That helps the next day starter. That helps 2 days starter. That helps the day before starter to know that you've got a guy who's going to go 6 innings tomorrow. When they didn't have that, it impacted the team so greatly in a way, even more than like Cole Ragans in some ways than Cole Ragans being out because of what the durability did for the rest of the pitching staff. And so I think that if he can get back to that, it changes things in a big way. And I mean, health is the big thing too. And that goes back to the 33 starts, but he doesn't have to be great. Before the All-Star break last season, his ERA was, I think it was sub 3, like 2.67, but his FIP was 4.33. His strikeouts were a little bit down. His walks were a little bit up. That if he does that, even if the ERA is not going to stay that low if he does that because it just wouldn't. But if he's that guy that he was before the break, it's fine. It's fine. They're maybe overpaying him by a smidge. And so I think that's the biggest gap there is, and that's why he made my list, but a little bit lower.
Yeah, I have him on my list at number 5 as well, and it's because I think we kind of saw the floor last year. I don't think we're ever going to see the ceiling again. Like I think what we saw 2 years ago where he was a Cy Young finalist, I don't think that's who he was. I think part of that was because the league hadn't seen him. He was new, and now they've made the adjustments, and I don't think he has the raw stuff to just go right back and have that kind of, okay, well, you're sitting on this. Well, now I'll give you this. Like, I think we know it. He's a trickster, right? He tricks you. He keeps you off balance, which is to say he's a very smart pitcher. And by the way, they're all talented. They're all athletic. I mean, we talk about, I always love when it's like, guy only throws like 93 miles an hour. And then, well, go throw it at the little K. See what you pop the radar gun at. Because I'm like 55 myself, right? The eepest pitch is my fastball.
Oh, so, big man at 55.
Yeah, I mean, I have never had anything, and it's clearly gotten worse. But yeah, I think he's down the list because I agree with Les. I think he needs to be on this list because they need him to eat the innings. If he can grind through those innings, that keeps the bullpen low. It keeps the depth of the starters. It means somebody else can get hurt, and you're fine because every fifth day you got him there. So I think he definitely belongs on the list. I've got him at number 5. But if you believe that the high end is still there, then I think, yeah, I mean, this is a guy who was a Cy Young finalist. So if he would revert back to being that is a huge variance, right? That's a big deal. And so he absolutely belongs on the list, and I can see why he would be that high on a list. All right, back to you, David. We're at number 5. This would be your number 3 pitcher on your list. Who do you got?
I have Chris Bubich.
Okay.
And I think
this is good because I really wanted to make sure my top 4 got on there, and I'm now assured that all of my top 4 will get on there.
Hey, this is why I came over while you were sleeping and looked at your list, and I wanted to make sure that you got in there. I think that the reasons are mostly obvious here, but I mean, Chris Bubich last year, 20 starts, 2.5 ERA. The metrics showed that it was real. This is a guy who he pitched like a legitimate number 1 starter in 2025, and then he was just gone, and we don't know what he's going to do. And I think what adds to it is you look at his innings. He's never thrown more than 130 innings in the big leagues. I think he ended up throwing like 145 or something one year with some minor league time. So, but he's never been over 150. And so there is a downside of Chris Bubich that he ends up either getting hurt or in the bullpen. And he has shown that there are some pitchers who are more valuable as relievers, right? I mean, we know that hey, they're going to be okay-ish as a starter, but they're going to be dominant in the bullpen. He's shown that he can be a legitimate top-of-the-rotation starter. And they need that because you need more than Cole Ragans to do that. And the reason they were so good in 2024, part of it was because they had Cole Ragans and Seth Lugo. In 2026, they could have Cole Ragans and Chris Bubich. They'd have those 2 guys that you can count on. And they don't have anybody else, I don't think, who can – because I don't think Lugo has that top end, like you said. They don't have anybody else who can join Cole Ragans to the top as it stands right now.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Did he make your list, Les?
Yeah, Bubich was also my 3.
Okay.
Yeah, for all the exact same reasons. I mean, I can't say it any better than that.
Yeah, I think for me,
probably could.
Here's the layer that I would add to it. I toyed around with Chris Bubich being number 1 on this list. Because one, the injury factor, like I think we didn't see him pitch. So the reality of him never getting on the mound, the reality of him blowing out in spring training, I think is a distinct possibility. We feel like Cole Ragans is going to be back. He came back. So like to me, I know he's going to at least start up on the bump. We have not seen Chris Bubich pitch. Right. And so there's that factor. And then there's he seems to be the guy that the Royals are dangling. And whether it's in a deal in this offseason, which there's still time, whether it's a deal in spring training or whether it's a deal at the deadline, Chris Bubich could bring back what is the final piece for this team. So I think his value, some of the reason why he could be as high as number 1 on this list for me is not anything about him or his health. It's about their willingness to deal him. It's about where he is contract-wise. I don't think the Royals want to dive in and give him contract extension. That kind of saddens me because I love the story of Chris Bubich, the trials and tribulations to get to where he is. I also think he's a pretty fun guy to talk to. I think he's another guy that's just like cerebral and has made himself into, well, we know he's a Stanford guy, so he better be pretty bright. Has made himself into a pitcher, right? I have that right? Daniel Lynch was Virginia. Yeah. Singer was Florida.
Cora was Florida.
And
Bowen was Memphis, and Bubich was Stanford. Yeah,
Bubich was Stanford. Okay, but yeah. So I just I think he also has kind of like an ornery smile. Like he looks like he's probably pretty fun to have in the clubhouse. Like he's probably a bit of a crap starter. Is my guess. I have not heard that, but that's the vision I have in my head Like he looks like an ornery kid sometimes in the dugout.
He has a Zach Greinke smile.
Yeah, I mean,
He absolutely does.
Like he's be fun to goof around. But I do think that the trade aspect of it means you could put this guy clear up at number 1, right? I would have no problem with seeing him clear at number 1. All right, so that means I get the last call on this. All right, and so I'm interested if you have it. This guy is number 4 on my list because I had Chris Bubich at number 3. So this guy's number 4. I have Ryan Bergert. And I have Ryan Bergert because, again, he is a guy. Did anybody else have him on the list?
No.
Not in my top 6. I had a few that I wanted to hit on if we didn't. So I'm glad that you are.
which we'll do in a minute. Yeah, Ryan Bergert to me showed that he's way better than anybody thought, right? You understand, Freddie Fermin, why they were willing to give up a guy that they really, really loved. One was the obvious depth. Carter Jensen showed part of the reason why they'd make that move there. But Ryan Bergert, I think the Royals nailed it and got a way better pitcher than people realized. And I think there's upside stuff there. And I don't think he's going to be an ace, but the idea was that he was like kind of a 5. That's what we were hearing when they acquired him. And I think he's clearly more than that. The strikeout per inning numbers are better. The strikeout per walk numbers are better. And I think you give anybody to Brian Sweeney and you've got an excellent chance of whatever comes into the Brian Sweeney machine comes out better. And so now with more time for him to work with Brian Sweeney, I think he's got a chance to be really something good. And I think he could be part of the depth for the trade factor. There's a much smaller aspect of how I would grade him than Chris Bubich on the trade part. But I do think that, if you got in there for Brendan Donovan and they want a big league arm, but they're more interested in prospects. Like I know a lot's been discussed about getting Brendan Donovan. It was a 3-team trade with the Royals sending Bubich somewhere else. Doesn't sound like the Cardinals want Bubich. And like the Mets were one of the teams that was supposed to be involved in that. Well, Freddie Peralta is now a Met. So I hear that the Donovan deal is, probably going to come to fruition with somebody sooner rather than later. And that the Royals would now have to say, okay, what do the Cardinals really want? Well, it sounds like they want prospects because they were going to ship Bubich someplace else and the prospects were going to go to the Cardinals. So if that's the case and you got to put prospects in there, Bergert could be at the centerpiece of a deal where they get the young pitcher with a lot of controllable innings. So I think there's a little bit of the reason I put Chris Bubich on this list with Bergert. You agree, David? You're nodding your head.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, he was right off I had a couple names that I wanted to touch on if they didn't get touched on, and he was one of them because I think that there is, again, like you said, I don't think ace upside, but 2 or 3. I mean, 3-4 upside with a 2 type season, I think is very possible here and there for Ryan Bergert because he has good stuff. Slider gets whiffs, the sweeper gets whiffs, the changeup looked really good. I think he should throw it more, honestly. Fastball was looked a little bit hittable, but hitters didn't hit it. So I don't know. It probably is probably one of those pitches that looks worse to batters than it does on television, or harder to hit than it does on television. So I think he's a guy who could really glue the rotation together. And you also talk about all the injuries that could happen because pitchers get hurt. 2024 is probably never. It's not going to happen again. They're not going to get through a season with their main 5 making 153 starts or whatever it was. So you're going to need guys to make 10, 12 starts. And Ryan Bergert has more upside than most guys who other organizations have to make those 10, 12 starts.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. All right. So Les, we didn't get to 2 guys on your list by my count. We knocked off your 1 through 4. Let's finish off your list. Who was 5 and 6 for you?
My number 5 was Carlos Esteves.
Okay.
Kind of a similar thing with Lucas Erceg. I mean, the saves are there, and that's great. But I feel like for a closer, there's not enough swing and miss. There's still too much contact, and that makes me nervous. That's the potential for home runs. That's the potential for blown saves.
Bence is moving in, contributing.
Bence is moving in, and the offense that still is inconsistent. Hopefully, it's not this year, but you never know. So, yeah, when you get a closer that can be a fly ball pitcher with fences moving in, that just makes me nervous. Maybe he should have been higher on the list. I don't know, but he fell at my 5.
Okay. And 6?
6 was, I don't know if this is a surprise, but I put Luinder Avila in there.
I love it. He's one of my others.
He was on my, yeah.
Yeah, I've got him at 6 because he's nasty. I mean, just the stuff that he has and his makeup. I'd like to see him gain maybe 10 more pounds just for over time, not next week, but over time, just so his arm can hold up. But I love his movement. His curveball is nasty. He feels like he's got poise for a young guy. And I just feel like you put him out there and give him the innings in the bullpen that he deserves. I wouldn't put him as a starter. I would leave him in the bullpen just because his stuff is filthy and he can be a great bridge. If Ursig and Estevez can figure some things out, man, he would be a great reliever. Eventually, if he starts, okay. But right now, man, I just feel like that's a huge shot in the arm for Royals with a guy with his stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Who didn't make our list that you had at number 6, David?
I had Estevez. So that was a lot of the same reasons, same reasons as Les, same reasons that I said for Urseg. I think that, that ninth inning is different. We've talked about that. It is a different beast, whether people want to agree with it or not, it is. And he handled it. He handled it really well in 2025, but with a lot of markers that say, hey, there might be some problems in 2026. And so I think that there's some variance there. I think there's a little less variance too, because he's a veteran who knows how to pitch, and that's why he was at the bottom of my list, but he was still on my list.
Yeah. I had on my others receiving votes. I had Carlos Estevez. I had Luinder Avila. So I'm really glad because he was the guy I toyed around with him being even like 3 or 4 on the
I
list.
did too.
Because I think he could end up being the guy who closes if you keep Urseg in that weapon, and Estevez, who I agree is volatile. I mean, I had him. He just missed my list as well. So I had him because I think there could be a backslide there. Like, I don't see anything more than what he gave them. I can see it going and going down. I'm hoping he gives them exactly what – like right now, if you got last year's Carlos Estevez, would you take it?
Yes.
Yeah, we'd all bank it right now. So to me, that was why. But Luinder Avila is the guy. I'm with Les. Like, I think the stuff that could be your closer by the end of the year, right? And if you are going to have an HDH bullpen, part of it will have an A. It'll somehow have an A involved in it. EA Sports. I don't know. EA Urseg Avila.
We could call it the fax machine because it's like the
Yeah.
Just saying.
I like it. The old school. Yeah. So, and I have one more name. So, anybody have any other names they want to put in there?
My only extra. Go ahead, David.
That was my whole list.
Okay, Les.
My only extra I threw in the first extra was Nick Mears, just because a new guy, again, a new guy that's a shot in the arm. And sometimes when you get that fresh start or a fresh place and you feel like you belong, someone wants you, it just makes things a little bit different. Doesn't necessarily translate to good stuff, but I feel like he's got good enough stuff that he could be a really, really good addition to help maybe, again, help an offense that if it struggles or help some of the other guys that don't have a good start. You can't get every single starter. You hope, but you can't get every single starter to be perfect. And you definitely, a bullpen, someone's going to give it up in the bullpen every once in a while. And so he could be that guy that could fill in and take that spot that's reliable. There's nothing like an unreliable guy in the bullpen, because if you have to use him, if the starter's getting rocked, then you're just piling trouble on trouble. So I feel like he could be a big help.
Yeah, I think that's a great a great point there. I'll give you the one other name. You want to guess? I don't think you will, but I'll give each of you one guess as to who the other name is that I have on my consideration list.
You don't think we'll get it?
I don't think you'll get it.
Okay.
Glasses come back on.
Okay. Because there's not much. If you look at
we've gone through the whole staff.
You have how many guesses?
I have 2 thoughts.
Okay, then hold it. Then let Les go. Give Les one, and then because you'll at least have
I'm going to throw it out there because he wouldn't have made my list in any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to go out there and just say Mason Black.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Okay,
that's a good one. I keep forgetting they traded for him.
Mason Black. Okay.
Okay. So my first guess, the first thought that popped in my head was Bailey Falter.
Nope.
The second one was Steven Zobak.
No. Okay. So the guy who could have the biggest impact on this team, we had Keith Law on the radio show yesterday, by the way. If you missed it, if you love the prospect talk, his top 100's out. Go to a10whb.com or download the A10 app, and you can hear my conversation. It's in the 5 o'clock hour with Keith Law, who, by the way, let me just state, he's come on the podcast a number of times. not only are his write-ups and his breakdown of the prospects fantastic, he is just a fantastic guest. Like if I brought Keith Law on to he's a connoisseur of cooking. He's a connoisseur of board games. Like if I brought him on to just talk about, hey, let's talk cutlery. I'll bet by the end I would buy a new knife set. When he explained what knives he used, I know he's got like an outdoor wood fire oven they cook his own pizzas with. He is just such a fun guy. He is so bright and witty. He's such a fun guy to talk to. So if you didn't catch that, if you're a fan of the Coffin Corner podcast, I think you'll love Keith Law and what he had to say. He's got 3 Royals in his top 100. By the way, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it's one of the guys in his top 100 that I almost put on. I thought about just to give us something else to talk about, but I'm like, we'll do it at the end. We'll do it right here, like we're doing right now. Kendry Churio.
Yeah, interesting.
And I said, well, let me ask you a question. If, you're trying to make a deal and you have to move Kendry Churio, I said, like I mentioned, if you have to figure out the Brendan Donovan deal and you have to give prospects, I said, would you put Kendry? He shut me down before I could even finish the name. No. He said, that guy, you have the ability. He has the ability. You have the potential to have an ace right there. And he said, there's no way. No, I would absolutely not move Churio. So is he going to rocket all the way up at 18 years old into the big leagues? No. And he bumped his head at the end of last year when they bumped him up. So I don't think we're going to see Doc Gooden, and he's going to be.
Was he 17 though when he came up? 17.
Wow, he was 17.
That's crazy.
Let me double check his age right now.
Yeah, 10-1-20. He turned 18 on October 1st.
On October 1st, so he will basically be 18 all year. All year.
It's amazing.
Already in full season ball.
Yeah, and he was in what low A last year? Where was he?
Yeah, for a few 5 or 6 starts.
Yeah, and so he's going to start the year in low A. He may finish the year in double A, right? Like I think if things went the way they wanted, he'd go low A, high A, and then finish up with some double A innings. Start next year in double A, and potentially at age 19, be knocking on the door of the Royals in 27. But certainly you're planning on
four guys in 22 and 2/3 innings in his first crack at full season ball at 17. I'm mad at myself that I didn't put him on my list.
Yeah, I bring him up because he's clearly not going to affect the 26 team
right
in the big leagues. But if you decided somebody was the end all be all and could solve your outfield spot for 5-6 years, or is even a young guy that you wanted to ink to a deal right after you traded for him, then you put Kendry Churio in there. But, to hear, like I said, to hear what I heard out of the guy that I respect the most when it comes to the prospects and Keith Law saying like, absolutely not, then I would like in Keith Law, I trust. Like if I had a front office and he were one of my lieutenants, if Keith Law says don't trade him, I don't trade him. But I mean, I think if he thinks that highly of him, how much could he bring back? Like, would you do Churio 1-for-1 for Duran? Like, I don't think that's what the Red Sox aren't in that business. They're in the business of getting guys that can help them right now. But like, that seems to be the apple of everybody's eye. Would you do him for Brendan Donovan 1-for-1?
No.
No.
Would you do Churio for Churio? Kendry for Jackson? That's an interesting question.
I still wouldn't.
The Brewers outfielder.
That is
21, 6 years of control left? 8 years of control left? That's interesting.
I would do that to get the position player.
would.
They've already signed him, so obviously they don't have any intentions of moving him. And I don't think they would do it because they're like, we build our own pitchers. We don't need your help.
Right.
We're good over here. Like, what do you think you're going to do for us? We invented building pitcher.
We walked so you could run, and now we're sprinting past you.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think they would do it, but I mean, I do think it's interesting. Like as we sit here, it does not appear that they're getting the outfielder that they want, right? And so, will they pivot and put prospects into a deal? And should they? Are they that trade that hurts? Jim Bowden said this. I remember back when the Royals were coming up, and it would have been in 2012. He said the Royals are getting to the point when their farm system was loaded and they had Will Myers and Jake Odorizzi and Mike Montgomery,
John Lamb, Chris Dwyer, Duffy, all them. Yeah.
All those guys were in the top 100 prospects, and they were even starting to get Moustakas and Hosmer coming up. And he said the Royals are at that point where it's time to make a trade that hurts. You're going to have to move something that hurts. And they moved Will Myers for James Shields and Wade Davis. Are they at that point right now to where, whether it's David Shields, Kendry Churio, Blake Mitchell, I think we all agree that Blake Mitchell, no one's going to, it's not that nobody likes Blake Mitchell because he was in Keith Law's top 100 as well. But we understand the depth of catching that they have. Are they at a point, Les, where it's time to make a trade that hurts?
Yes, absolutely. And at the end of this year, if we have another year like we did where they should have made the playoffs and Jack grossly underperforms again, or we just have any kind of similarities, I think at the end of this year, the next offseason, it's going to be time that we start to let go and give it up, or I just feel like we're just not serious. And so, of course, they're serious. They want to win. But again, if the same formula doesn't work over and over and over again, but we're afraid to try that, then we're stuck in the same cycle.
Yeah. Do you think it's time to make the trade that hurts, David?
I mean, if it's out there, I think that they are a bat away from being the clear favorites in the division. They are a big bat away. And I mean, you look at and projections and Vegas win totals aren't everything, but you look at Fangraph's depth charts, the Royals, I can't remember the exact number, but they're projected for like 40.8 WAR, and the Tigers are like 40.6. And I mean, the Royals are projected to be the best team in the division based on that. Win totals, I think Tigers are 83.5, the Royals are 82.5 in Vegas. You add a big bat, you become the favorites. And so I think if it's out there, yes. The problem is the big bat, what are you going to do? Duran for Cole Ragans. I don't think Duran's the big enough bat, and I think it's too much for Cole Ragans, or not enough for Cole Ragans. Brendan Donovan, I don't know that he moves the needle quite a bit. I don't know if there's a deal there. Yeah, so I don't know if that deal exists, but if it's there, I think it's time.
Yeah. I think that's what they'll probably be wrestling with right now, right? Because there's still guys that are on the block that are there to be traded. Like the Red Sox still need to move an outfielder, right? Like what are they going to do? Like the Cardinals still, I think, want to move Brendan Donovan because they want the haul that he's going to bring back. But we've been waiting on these damn free agents to sign. Like it's crippling the off season. Like there's just no momentum to the off season of baseball because you don't get anybody moving. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Right. I hate it. All right. We've done it. We've done our most influential hitters and pitchers. We'll see you if we're right as we're not far. February 11th. Spring training opens. Remember, you can support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors, like our friends at Whataburger. The Monterey Melt is back. Large, juicy beef patty, American and Monterey Jack cheese, grilled peppers and onions, and a jalapeno ranch. You can check it out. How about the big ranch wrap? Chicken strip with a American cheese, tomato, lettuce leaf, ranch dressing on a soft flour tortilla. They're open 24 hours, serving breakfast 11 p to 11 a. Run over there and grab me some breakfast right now. You can do it at Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner, our friends at Greenlight. 15 locations in Missouri and more on the way. Your go-to for all your cannabis needs, it's Greenlight. Tell them you saw it right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Our friends at Frontier Justice, Lee Summit, KCK, Jenks, Oklahoma, 3 locations. Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, training, all under one roof. You can learn more at frontier-justice.com. And our friends at Northland Injury Law, if you've been hurt in an accident, be it on the road, be it at work, text HURT to 22222 or call 816-400-HURT. 5-star rated, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted #1 accident lawyers in Kansas City. For my man Les Norman, former Kansas City Royal, for David Lesky, author of Inside the Ground, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman